I stood there in the sweltering June heat of the Yale Quad, the air thick with the scent of fresh-cut grass and overpriced cologne, watching my son, Ethan, cross the stage in his cap and gown. The dean boomed his name over the speakers, Ethan Alexander Hale, and the crowd erupted, a sea of proud parents waving programs like white flags of surrender to time's relentless march. But as Ethan grinned, pumping his fist toward us, my husband of 22 years, Richard, slipped the envelope into my hand, his fingers cold and clinical, like a surgeon delivering a scalpel. "Sign it," he whispered, his breath hot against my ear, reeking of the single malt scotch he'd nursed all morning to celebrate. The paper inside was crisp. Official divorce papers, dated that very day, citing irreconcilable differences and a post-nuptial agreement I'd signed in a haze of exhaustion 5 years ago, back when his tech startup was bleeding cash and I thought love meant bailing him out with my inheritance. I didn't scream.
Didn't slap him.
Instead, I smiled, wide, teeth-baring, the kind of smile that hides a blade, and tucked the envelope into my clutch. Later, I murmured, my voice steady as the Mississippian flood. Because in that heartbeat, as confetti rained down like confetti-sized lies, I knew Richard's world, the one he'd built on my back, my secrets, my silence, was about to burn. Ethan bounded off the stage, diploma in hand, straight into our arms. He was 22, all lanky limbs and that boyish charm that had gotten him out of more scrapes than I could count, much like his father. Though Ethan had my eyes, the ones that saw too much.
Mom, Dad,
Can you believe it?
Yale.
Baby, he hugged me first, oblivious, his robe smelling of new wool and possibility. Richard clapped him on the back, all booming laughter and backslaps. The picture of the perfect patriarch. Proud of you,
Son.
this is just the start. Hail men conquer. We posed for photos, me sandwiched between them, my arm around Ethan's waist, Richard's hand possessive on my shoulder. Flashbulbs popped from distant alumni phones, capturing the facade. Inside, my mind raced like a glitchy algorithm, replaying the years, the late nights at his Silicon Valley office, the business trips to Vegas that left lipstick on his collars, the way he'd gaslight me into doubting my own sanity when I'd confront him. But that was surface scum. The real rot? It festered deeper, in the grave we'd dug together a decade ago. It started in 2015, back when Richard's company, Hale Dynamics, was still a scrappy AI firm chasing venture capital like a dog after a bone. We were in Palo Alto, living in a cramped craftsman that creaked under the weight of our ambitions. Ethan was 12, obsessed with coding his first app, a silly game about robot dinosaurs that somehow went viral on App Store's kids section. Richard saw dollar signs. I saw my boy's joy. One night, after a pitch meeting gone south, some VC asshole from Sequoia had laughed them out of the room. Richard came home shattered. Not broken. Mind you, Richard Hale didn't break. He schemed. Poured himself a tumbler of whatever rotgut bourbon was on sale, paced the kitchen linoleum until it wore thin under his loafers. We're fucked, Claire, he'd growled, slamming the glass down so hard the amber liquid sloshed over the rim. They want proof of concept, but our servers are crashing under test loads. If we don't stabilize by morning, it's over. I was at the sink, scrubbing pots from Ethan's birthday dinner, pizza and cake. Nothing fancy, and I turned, drying my hands on a dish towel that smelled faintly of garlic. We'll figure it out. You always do. But he didn't. Not that night. Instead, he vanished into his home office, the door clicking shut like a vault. Hours ticked by, Ethan long asleep, the house settling into that eerie quiet only California suburbs know. Around 3 a.m., I heard the crash, glass shattering, followed by a thud that rattled the floorboards. I bolted up, heart hammering, and found him slumped against the desk, a overturned lamp spilling light over a sea of code printouts and an empty pill bottle. Not suicide. Richard was too vain for that. Overdose on Adderall and desperation, chasing a high to fuel the all-night. He was barely breathing when the paramedics wheeled him out, sirens slicing the pre-dawn fog. Ethan woke up crying, clutching his stuffed T-Rex, and I held him while the neighbors gawked from their porches, whispering about tech bro burnout. The ER pumped his stomach, stabilized him, but the real damage? It hit when the cops showed up 2 days later. Turns out, in his mania, Richard hadn't just been coding. He'd hacked into the VC firm servers, nothing major, just a peek at their portfolio docs to inspire his pitch. Sloppy work, traceable as hell. Felony cyber intrusion, they called it. If it stuck, Hale Dynamics folded. Richard in orange. Our life in ruins. I couldn't let that happen. Not for him, for Ethan. So I confessed. Told the DA it was me, the bored housewife with a CS degree gathering dust since college, messing around on his laptop out of curiosity. They bought it. Women like me didn't fit the hacker profile. Misdemeanor plea. Community service. A sealed record. Richard walked free. Relaunched the company with a near-miss story that charmed investors. We moved to Manhattan when the funding hit, trading suburbia for a Tribeca loft with views of the Hudson that mocked my buried truth. That was the first betrayal, mine, to myself. But Richard? He repaid it by building his empire on lies. Affairs started small. The intern in 2018. All yoga pants and daddy issues. I found the texts, the hotel receipts. Confronted him over takeout Thai in our kitchen. Ethan at a sleepover. It's nothing, he said, eyes flicking to his phone like it held state secrets. Stress relief. You wouldn't understand. I understood enough to stay silent. Again. For Ethan. For the facade. But the cracks widened. By 2020, pandemic lockdown turned our loft into a pressure cooker. Richard worked remotely, barking orders at his dev team while I homeschooled Ethan through Zoom hell. One night, I caught him in the guest room, our office, with his laptop open to a Zoom call. But not business. It was her, Vanessa, his OO, the sharp-elbowed brunette he'd hired from Google. They weren't discussing quarterly reports. Her silk blouse was unbuttoned just enough, his hand off screen in ways that made my stomach lurch. I slammed the door. He chased me to the living room. Thai askew. Face flushed. Claire. Wait, it's not what you think. Bullshit. My voice cracked. The first time I'd sworn at him since our wedding vows. You've been screwing her for months. I can smell her on you. Like cheap Merlot and ambition. He didn't deny it. Just stood there, chest heaving, and said the words that hollowed me out. You're holding me back. This marriage? It's a relic. I need someone who gets the game. The game. That's what he called it, his corner of the American dream, where ethics were optional and loyalty a punchline. I could have walked then, lawyered up, taken half his stock options that had ballooned to 8 figures. But Ethan was 16, braces glinting in his yearbook photo, dreaming of Ivy League. So I swallowed it, played the dutiful wife at holiday parties, smiling through Vanessa's smug glances as she climbed the ranks. Fast forward to graduation weekend. We'd flown first class to New Haven, Richard's treat, naturally staying at the Omni, where valets knew his name and the bar tab rivaled a mortgage payment. Saturday morning, he was all charm, breakfast at Union League Cafe, mimosas bubbling like his false affection. Big day for our boy, he toasted, clinking glasses. I nodded, the envelope burning a hole in my memory.
Post-ceremony.
The reception tent buzzed with champagne flutes and networking schmoozes. Ethan held court with his poli-sci buddies, debating Supreme Court justices like they were fantasy football picks. Richard cornered me by the dessert table, lemon tarts sweating in the humidity. Sign it tonight. Before the after-party. Clean break. Why now? I asked, fork piercing a tart, juice bleeding onto the plate like an accusation. He leaned in, voice low, that boardroom timbre. Vanessa's pregnant. We're announcing at the Hamptons next month. I want this done. Pregnant. The word landed like a gut punch, but I didn't flinch. Instead, I felt the old fire kindle, the one I'd banked for years, waiting for the right wind. Congratulations, I said, tasting bile. But you might want to hold off on the save the dates. His brow furrowed, that telltale tick when deals soured. What the hell does that mean? I sip my champagne, bubbles sharp on my tongue. Remember the Palo Alto glitch? The one I fixed for you. His eyes narrowed, scanning the tent for eavesdroppers. Claire. Not here. Oh. Yes. Here. I stepped closer, our voices a conspiratorial hiss amid the laughter. I didn't just take the fall for the hack. I buried the logs, erased the traces. But here's the news that shatters your plans. Richard, I kept copies. Insurance. And if you push this divorce, those logs go to the feds. Cyber fraud. Insider trading, pick your poison. Your empire? Poof. He went white, then red, the colors of a man cornered. You wouldn't. Ethan's future. Ethan's my blood. I cut in, voice steel. Yours? Debatable. The tent swirled around us, oblivious. But in that moment, the real graduation began, mine. From victim to venom. Richard's face twisted like a bad stock ticker, plummeting from smug to stricken in seconds. He grabbed my elbow, nails digging in through the silk of my sheath dress, the one I'd bought special for today. Emerald green to match Ethan's tie. You crazy bitch, he hissed, spraying spittle. Blackmail? After everything I've given you? Given? I wrenched free, rubbing the bruise blooming under my skin. You mean the scraps from your table? The condo in Boca you let me keep for summers with Ethan? Try again. Around us, Yale alums in seersucker suits droned about endowments and startups, their wives air-kissing over pearl strands. No one noticed. We were just another power couple in quiet crisis. Ethan waved from across the tent, holding up a slice of cake like a trophy. I waved back. The perfect mom, while Richard seethed. Meet me in the car, he muttered, storming toward the valet stand. I lingered, snagging a fresh flute of Veuve, letting the alcohol steady my pulse. This wasn't impulse, it was ignition. For years, I'd archived every betrayal in a cloud drive only I could access, screenshots of his offshore accounts, audio of Vanessa's pillow talk confessions recorded via a nanny cam I'd installed in his office for security. But the Palo Alto files? Those were the crown jewels. Time-stamped proof of his felony flirtation with cyber espionage. The limo idled curbside. A black behemoth with tinted windows that screamed new money. Richard slid in first, beckoning me with a jerk of his head. I climbed in opposite, the leather cool against my thighs. Door thudding shut like a coffin lid. "Talk," he demanded, loosening his tie. "What do you want? Money?" "The Tribeca place." I crossed my legs, the hem riding up just enough to remind him of the body he'd once chased across frat house lawns at Stanford. "I want what you owe me." The truth. For starters. About Vanessa. About why you really chose today. He laughed, bitter and bark-like, rubbing his temples. Truth? Fine. She's carrying my air.
Claire.
A Hale 2.0. Without your baggage. His eyes raked me, lingering on the faint lines around my mouth, the ones laughter had etched before it turned to grit. "Ethan's great, but he's soft. Like you." Vanessa gets it. Disruption. Dominance. Our kid will run empires.
Soft.
The word stung, but I filed it away. Another shard for my arsenal. And the divorce? Timed for maximum humiliation. Collateral. He shrugged, the nonchalance of a man who'd outsourced his conscience to HR. Ethan's launchpad. Clean slate for the family photo ops. I leaned forward, voice dropping to a whisper that cut like wire. "Except your slate's not clean."
Rick.
"Those server logs? They don't just show the hack. They trace the money trail, the kickbacks you funneled through shell companies to buy insider tips. SEC would love that. FBI. Too. Bluff. Half." I dug deeper after the overdose, hiring a discreet PI when Richard thought I was at book club. The files painted a picture of systematic fraud, Richard gaming the system like a high-stakes poker cheat. I'd sat on it, hoping redemption, but hope's a fool's currency. He deflated, shoulders slumping against the seat. Jesus.
Claire.
That was survival. The VCs were rigging the game. Save the TED Talk. I pulled out my phone, thumb hovering over a encrypted app. Sign the papers away. Give me controlling interest in Hale Dynamics, 51%. And full custody of Ethan. No contest. His jaw dropped, then clamped. Custody? He's an adult. For fuck's sake. College doesn't erase parental rights. Or your history of stress relief with subordinates. I hit play on a low volume, Vanessa's voice, moaning his name over a conference line glitch he'd never fixed. He lunged, snatching the phone. Delete that. I let him, watching the fight drain out like bad coffee. Or what? You'll serve me again?
Try it.
My lawyer's already drafting countersuit. Alienation of affection. Emotional distress. But the logs? Those go viral on X tomorrow if you push. Silence stretched, broken only by the driver's idle engine.
Outside.
Graduates in robes streamed past, futures unfolding like gift wrap. Richard's empire, valued at $2.3 billion last quarter. Per Forbes, hung by this thread. Fine, he spat finally, crumpling the envelope. But this isn't over. You'll regret it. The door opened. Ethan peered in, face lit with post-ceremony glow. Mom? Dad? After party at the hotel bar, you coming? Richard plastered on a grin, exiting like a pro. Wouldn't miss it. Champ. I followed, the weight lifting just a fraction. Step 1, survival. But revenge? That was the feast to come. The after-party was a blur of craft IPAs and TEDx wannabe speeches in the Omni's rooftop lounge, Hudson glittering below like fool's gold. Ethan held court, his Yale ring glinting as he gestured wildly about antitrust law and AI ethics, irony lost on his father, who nursed a scotch and shot me glares across the room. Vanessa was there,
Two.
flown in for the team, her baby bump just a whisper under a flowy maxi dress. She sidled up to Richard, hand on his arm, eyes on me like a hawk spotting roadkill. I played along, toasting Ethan's future, laughing at dad jokes from his professors. But inside, gears turned. That night, in my suite, separate from Richard's, a mix-up I'd engineered, I cracked open my laptop. The cloud drive hummed to life. Folders labeled like autopsy reports, affair chronology, financial forensics, Palo Alto payload. I'd started collecting post-lockdown when isolation sharpened my suspicions. A forgotten email here, a synced calendar there. Vanessa wasn't the first. There'd been the marketing VP in 19, the board advisor in 21. But she was the endgame, the one who'd whispered in his ear about upgrading the brand. Pregnant. God, the audacity. By dawn, I'd emailed my attorney, Miriam Goldstein, a shark in Chanel who'd handled my post-nup regrets. Pull the trigger, I typed. Full audit. Sunday brunch was agony wrapped in eggs Benedict. Ethan chattered about grad school apps, Harvard Law. Naturally, while Richard picked at his fruit plate, phone buzzing with damage control. Vanessa excused herself early. Morning sickness, her hand fluttering to her belly, like a white flag. As we boarded the Gulfstream back to Teterboro, Hail Dynamics perks, I cornered Richard in the galley. Alimony starts today. 20% of net. Plus the jet for Ethan's visits. He poured coffee, black as his mood. You're destroying me.
No. You did that.
I'm just the cleanup crew. Touchdown in Jersey. And the real world crashed in. Ethan hugged us goodbye at the car service. Love you both. Weirdos, heading to a summer internship at the UN. Alone in the SUV to Tribeca, Richard finally cracked. What if I fight? Expose your little confession stunt from 15. I met his gaze in the rear view.
Do it.
I'll tell Ethan everything. The overdose. The hack. How his conquering dad nearly tanked his college fund. He recoiled, the threat landing like a vetoed bill. Silence till drop-off, where he vanished into the building without a word. That week blurred, meetings with Miriam, who cackled over the leverage, a forensic accountant combing ledgers for skeletons, Ethan texting memes from Manhattan's heatwave. Richard went radio silent, then bombastic, flowers delivered to the loft. A sorry card in his looping script. I trashed them, but kept the receipts. By Friday, the boardroom coup brewed. Hail Dynamics' next quarterly was make or break. AI ethics, scandals rocking the valley. Richard planned a splashy rebrand, Vanessa at his side. But I had the votes now, proxies from silent partners I'd charmed over wine tastings. The call came Saturday, emergency meeting Monday. Your presence required. I smiled at my reflection, the woman staring back, harder-edged.
Alive.
Wouldn't miss it. Monday morning dawned muggy. The kind of New York summer that sticks to your soul. I suited up in armor, tailored black blazer, pencil skirt, heels that clicked like countdowns, and strode into Hail Dynamics' glass tower on Park Avenue. The lobby gleamed. Holographic displays flickering with stock tickers and EthicBot demos. A shrine to Richard's vision, AI that predicted human needs before they knew them themselves. Ironic, given how blind he'd been to mine. Security nodded me through. I'd been just the wife for years. But Miriam's prelims had looped me into shareholder status overnight. Elevator to the 42nd floor. Stomach a knot of nerves and nectar. This wasn't just divorce. It was dismantling a deity. The boardroom was a warren of walnut and white bards. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Chrysler Building like a defeated rival. They were all there. Richard at head. Ties strangled. Vanessa to his right in power red. Her bump now a subtle accusation. The rest, old money VCs. Tech bros in hoodies. A token diversity hire shifted uncomfortably as I entered. Claire, Richard said, voice oily as he stood. Didn't expect you so. Invested. I took the empty seat opposite, dropping my Birkin with a thud. Times change. Let's begin. The agenda droned. Q2 projections. Ethics audits post some deepfake scandal. Richard commanded. All charisma and charts. Painting Hale as the white knight of big tech. Vanessa chimed in, her MBA polish gleaming, touting family-first innovations. Family. The word twisted like a knife. My turn came midway, new business. I clear my throat. The room stilling. As majority stakeholder, effective immediately, I'm invoking Article 7. Full financial disclosure. Effective now. Murmurs rippled. Richard's fork clattered against his water glass. What the Claire? This is a rubber stamp. Rubber's worn thin. I slid a tablet across. Miriam's handiwork, spreadsheets blooming with red flags. Offshore wires to Cayman trusts. Inflated R&D invoices funneled to personal yachts. Care to explain the $4.2 million to Consulting Ventures, LLC? Or should I say, Vanessa's divorce settlement from hubby number 2. Her face drained of color. Hand flying to her mouth. The board erupted questions. Gasps. One guy choking on his LaCroix. Richard slammed the table. Fabrications. She's unhinged, post-divorce spite. Spite. I laughed. Cold and clear. Try statute of limitations. This is felony wire fraud.
Rick.
And that's before the Palo Alto prelims hit the docket. I cued the projector, sanitized excerpts. Timestamps glowing like neon indictments. The hack. The kickbacks. His digital fingerprints smudged but indelible. Vanessa bolted for the door. Heels skittering. But a board member, silver-haired Elliot from Kleiner Perkins, blocked her.
Seat.
Explain. She didn't. Instead, tears. Pleas about loyalty, how Richard promised her the CFO slot post-baby. The room fractured. Sympathies split. Accusations flew. Richard lunged across the table. Face purple. You traitorous cunt. After I built this for us. For you, I corrected. Unmoved. I carried the water. Scrubbed the stains. Ethan's the only us that mattered. Security escorted him out, temp ban. Per my motion. Vanessa followed, sobbing into her phone. No doubt speed dialing PR firms. The vote passed 7-4. Me as interim CEO. Forensic audit greenlit. As they filed out, Elliot lingered, clapping my shoulder. Balls of steel.
Hale.
Or whatever your name is now.
Claire, I said.
Just Claire. Back in a loft that evening. Ethan FaceTimed from his internship crash pad in Midtown.
Mom.
You look wrecked. Dad being a dick again. I hesitated, wine glass midway to lips. Something like that. How's the UN? He shrugged.
Pixels grainy.
Bureaucracy hell. But hey, interning with war crimes prosecutors beats Dad's robot overlords.
A beat.
You okay? The question hung. A lifeline. Getting there. Love you. Love you more. I poured another glass. The Cabernet deep as regret. Victory tasted metallic, laced with the what-ifs. What if I'd exposed him years ago? What if Ethan learned his dad was a fraud before Yale? Tuesday brought the leaks, anonymous tips to TechCrunch. Bloomberg. Hale Dynamics implodes. CEO's wife seizes control in boardroom bloodbath. Photos of me striding out. Chin high, Richard's mugshot-esque glare from archives. Vanessa went dark. Rumored decamping to her sisters in L.A. Bump and all. Richard surfaced Wednesday, pounding on the door at 2 a.m. I peered through the peephole, disheveled, shirt untucked, eyes wild. Claire, open up. We need to talk. I did. Chain latched, the steel a thin comfort. Talk. He pressed against the gap. Breath, whiskey sour. This is madness. The stock's tanking, down 23% today. Investors pulling out. For what? Some vendetta? Vendetta? I echoed, arms crossed. You served me at Ethan's graduation. In front of God and graduates. That was heat of the moment. Vanessa pushed, said we announce. You fold. He raked hands through salt pepper hair. I love her. Okay? But you. You're the mother of my son. We can fix this. Joint custody. The company split at 50/50ths.
Love.
The word curdled. Love doesn't hack servers or hide mistresses. And fix? Too late. His face crumpled. Genuine for once, vulnerable. The boy I'd met at a kegger. Dreaming of changing the world.
Please.
Ethan's asking questions. Thinks I'm on a bender. Let him. Truth's a better teacher than lies. I shut the door, his pleas muffling to sobs. Sleep evaded me. Instead, I scrolled Ethan's old texts, dinosaur emojis. Late-night vents about bullies.
My boy.
Collateral in this carnage. Thursday, the feds knocked. Suits from the Southern District. Warrants for Richard's devices. I cooperated fully, handing over drives in a manila envelope that felt like absolution. Ma'am, the lead agent said, a no-nonsense Latina with a Brooklyn lilt. This could bury him. Already did, I replied. By week's end, Hale Dynamics was mine on paper, rebranded Clairetech. Focus on ethical AI for social good. Press hailed me as the sheriff of Silicon, but trolls on X called me a gold-digging harpy. Polarizing, just as I'd feared. Ethan came home Friday. Duffel slung. Face drawn.
Mom.
Dad called. Said you're ruining him. I pulled him into a hug. His frame's solid now. Man-sized. Sit. We need to talk. Over pizza, his favorite. Pepperoni loaded. I spilled it all. The hack. My confession. The affairs. The boardroom blitz. His eyes widened, then narrowed, processing like the coder he was. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Hurt laced his voice. But no anger at me. Fear, I admitted. Of losing you to his spin. He nodded.
Slow.
He's a prick.
But.
He's still Dad.
Can we visit?
In custody or whatever? The question gutted me. Mercy? Or manipulation. Maybe. After the dust. That night, as he crashed in his old room, posters of Elon and Obama curling at edges, I stared at the ceiling. The loft's silence accusatory. Revenge wasn't cathartic, it was a mirror, reflecting my complicity. I'd enabled the monster.
Now.
I was slaying it. But at what cost to the boy in the next room? The arraignment hit like a summer squall, sudden, soaking, impossible to ignore. Richard, in a holding cell upstate, facing counts of wire fraud, securities violation, and cyber trespass. Bail set at $10 million, which I didn't contest, let him stew in the Gray Bar Hotel. Media swarmed the courthouse steps, mics thrusting like bayonets. Mrs. Hale. Was it revenge porn or corporate justice? I pushed through, Miriam at my flank, no comment but a steely glare for the cameras. Inside, the courtroom smelled of stale coffee and desperation. Wooden benches scarred by fidgeting defendants. Richard shuffled in, orange jumpsuit clashing with his pallor, cuffs clinking like bad karma. Our eyes met, his pleading, mine impassive. Ethan sat beside me, hand in mine, knuckles white. The judge, a grizzled vet with a Brooklyn accent thick as bagels. Read the charges. Richard's public defender, a wet behind-the-ears kid, fumbled the plea. Not guilty. All the way. Your Honor, this is a family matter. Exaggerated. Exaggerated? I muttered, loud enough for the bench. The gavel cracked, silencing ripples. Post-hearing, Ethan and I grabbed falafel from a truck on Varick, the East Village bustle-a-bomb. He looked small, Ethan said, tahini dripping onto waxed paper. Like when he lost that big contract in 18. I nodded, chewing slow. Men like him shrink without the suit, but shrinks don't vanish threats. That afternoon, my phone buzzed, an unknown number. Vanessa's extension. I answered, voice honeyed venom. Claire Tech. How may I direct your call to ruin? A pause. Then her voice, husky from tears or smokes. Truce?
Coffee.
Neutral ground. The Bean in Soho. For PM, curiosity or closure. 1. I arrived early, claiming a corner table amid the hiss of espresso machines and indie folk strumming acoustic regret. She waddled in 10 minutes late, bump prominent now under a tent of linen, face puffy but makeup armored. Claire. She slid into the seat, ordering decaf with a wince. Thanks for coming. Spit it out. I'm billing by the hour. She twisted her napkin, threads fraying. Richards. Not the father. The world tilted, coffee steam curling like smoke signals. What? Ultrasound last week. Paternity test, his lawyer insisted. Paranoia about entanglements. She air-quoted. Bitter. It's marks. From accounting. Fling during that Vegas conference.
Mark.
The paunchy widower who'd always lingered too long at potlucks. I barked a laugh, shocking us both. So your heir is a rebound? Her eyes flashed hurt, then steel. Doesn't change what you did. You torpedoed everything. Everything. I leaned in, voice low. You betted my husband, plotted my erasure. For what? A corner office and child support. She flushed, hand protective on her belly. He promised marriage. Said you were done. A placeholder. Placeholder. The diminutive burned, but I doused it. And now, running. I'm keeping the baby. Starting over, LA. Maybe a startup of my own. A ghost of a smile. But Richard. He flipped. Blames me for the leaks. Says I set him up. Classic Richard. Pivot to victim when the spotlight scorches. Let him. Karma's bipartisan. We parted uneasy allies. Her number deleted before the block hit canal. But the revelation gnawed. If not his, whose empire was I toppling? Mine. Still, tainted by association. Ethan's internship wrapped that week. He crashed at the loft, helping unpack boxes from storage, photo albums, Richard's old LPs, relics of a life we'd curated like a museum. One evening, over Thai delivery, he broached it.
Mom.
I hacked Dad's work email. Old stuff. My fork paused mid-pad, CEW. Ethan. Nothing illegal, he grinned. That hacker's spark inherited. Damn it. Just curious. Found threads with Vanessa.
Yeah.
But also emails to you. From 15. After the overdose. My blood chilled. And he thanked you. Said, you're my rock.
Claire.
I'd be lost without you. Then, months later, we need to talk about the confession. Guilt's eating me. You replied, bury it. For Ethan, the words hung, damning in their simplicity. I'd chosen silence, enabled the spiral. I was scared, I whispered, of losing the life we'd built. He squeezed my hand.
You didn't lose me.
But Dad. He's texting, begging to meet. Says he's got news that changes everything. The hook in my gut twisted. Don't. Not yet. But Ethan, ever the bridge builder, arranged it a neutral diner in Chelsea. Saturday noon. I tailed him, lurking in a coffee shop across the street, binoculars from a spy novel phase. Richard arrived first, gaunt in chinos and polo, scanning like a fugitive. Ethan hugged stiffly, words exchanged, tense but civil. 20 minutes in, Richard pulled an envelope thick. Legal. Ethan's face shifted, shock, then fury. He stormed out, hailing a cab straight to me. That bastard, he spat, slamming the door. Paternity test. From a clinic in '03. Says I'm not his. The world fractured. Not his. The affair predated Vanessa by 2 decades?
Or a lie?
Another scheme? I clutched the wheel.
Knuckles bone white.
Show me. The papers trembled in his grip. DNA results. 0.01% match.
Certified. Damning.
He says that's why the divorce now. Clean break before the truth outs.
But Mom.
If it's real. Who? I floored the accelerator. Weaving through traffic. Mind a maelstrom. The buried secret wasn't just the hack. It was Genesis. Back to our wedding night. Richard's charm masking conquests. College flings. Rumors I dismissed as frat boy folklore. But this? A bomb under our foundation. That night. Alone. Ethan crashed early. Sedated by exhaustion, I confronted the mirror. My eyes. His eyes? Coincidence? Or clue?
No.
Ethan was mine. Blood or borrowed. But Richard's news? A weapon. Twisted to shatter us further. Sunday. I drove to Rikers. Visitor log prepped. Richard smirked through plexiglass. Phone to ear. Told the boy.
Huh, good.
Now you know. No. I pressed the receiver hard. That it's fake? Your forgery game's strong as your lies. His laugh crackled static. Check the lab. Accredited. But hey, if you doubt, test yourself. Quietly. Doubt seated. Thorny. Why now? To hurt him?
Us.
Ethan's Yale speech about integrity. Legacy. Couldn't stomach him carrying mine. A shrug. Casual cruelty. Or maybe freedom. No more pretending. I hung up. The click final. Back home. I ordered a kit discreet. At-home DNA. Swabs in the dead of night. Ethan's while he slept. Mine from a coffee mug. Mailed to a lab in Jersey. Anonymous. Waiting nod. 3 days of board calls. Ethic bot demos for Clartech's pivot. AI for criminal justice reform. Poetic justice. Vanessa texted once. Heard about the test. Run. I blocked her. But the warning lingered. Results pinged Friday. 99.9% match.
Mine.
Not his. Relief flooded. Then rage. Richard's ploy. A Hail Mary bluff with forged docs? Or truth in the forgery's desperation? I confronted the PI. Old contacts revived.
Dig.
Ethan's birth. Hospital records. Everything. Saturday. Answers. The clinic real. But results manipulated. Digital watermark faint. But there. Richard's hack skills repurposed for personal sabotage.
Why?
To alienate Ethan. Force a side in the war. I drove to the prison again. This time with printouts. Game over, I said through the glass.
Fakes.
You're done. His mask slipped. Defeat.
Raw. Claire.
I just want it out. Clean. Clean's not your color. I stood. Ethan knows. And he chooses me. As guards led him away. A final barb. Twist. The real father's worse. Ask your Stanford ex. The door clanged. Worse? The seed of deeper dark. The Stanford ex echo haunted the drive home. Traffic a snarl of horns and heat haze. Tommy Riley, blonde surfer god from my poli-sci seminars. The one who'd talked marks over midnight bonfires. Then ghosted post-graduation for a Wall Street grind. We'd hooked up senior year. A blurry week of finals-fueled folly. Safe? I'd thought so. But biology's a crapshoot. Ethan was in the kitchen when I burst in, raiding the fridge for leftovers. Mom, you okay? Look like you saw Bigfoot. Worse. I collapsed onto a bar stool. Head in hands. Your father's. Scheming to the end. The test? Bogus. But he dropped a bomb, implying Tommy's your bio dad. Ethan froze. Yogurt spoon midair. Tommy? As in, your what-if stories? The one who ditched for Goldman. I nodded, the absurdity bubbling into bitter laughter. Richard's grasping. Trying to fracture us.
But.
I need to know. For real. He set the spoon down. My eyes, steady. Test him. Closure.
We did.
Kit mailed to Tommy's last known, now a partner at a hedge fund in Greenwich. Married to a socialite. 3 kids in private schools. No drama, just science. While we waited, Clartech ramped. First ethics board meeting. My vision pitched to skeptics. AI isn't God, I said. Slides clicking. It's tool. For justice. Not jails. Applause.
Tentative.
Elliot pulled me aside after. Richard called from lockup. begging favors. Says you're destroying a legacy. Legacy of lies, I countered. Mine's truth. Vanessa resurfaced midweek. Email from a burner. Tommy's not it. But Richard? He knew. About the affair. Used it to control you all these years. Control. The word clanged. Unlocking vaults. Post Ethan's birth. Richard's sudden devotion. The paternity push. The way he'd weaponized our boy against my doubts. Had he known? Suspected? Lab results landed Thursday. Tommy. 0%. Relief. Then void. If not him. Who? Richard's bluff extended. A Russian doll of deceit. Ethan took it in stride. Coding a distraction app, betrayal buster, half joke. But nights. He paced, muttering about legacies, blood quantum. Does it matter? He asked once. 2 a.m. Kitchen raid. I'm me. Yale me. Yes, I hugged him fierce. Always. The real twist brewed in federal court, Richard's trial prep leaking via a clerk's loose lips to Miriam. Plea deal in play. Flip on bigger fish. Venture vultures, she said over martinis at Le Cuckoo. Sequoia insiders. Rigging IPOs. Your ex?
The fall guy. Fall guy.
Echo of my 15 confession. He'd rat. For a reduced sentence? In a heartbeat. And he did. Friday headlines. Tech titan turns state's evidence. Hale names names in fraud ring. Stock rebounded. Claire Tech up 15%. Irony's dividend. But the call came Saturday. Richard. From a halfway house post-bail. Voice cracked.
Claire. Meet.
Central Park. Bethesda Fountain.
Noon.
For Ethan. I went. Solo. Bench by the angel statue. Tourists milling like extras. He appeared. Slimmer. Humbled in khakis. No cufflinks. Thanks for coming. Clock's ticking, I said, checking my watch. What now? More forgeries?
He sat.
Elbows on knees. Defeated slump.
Truth.
The whole rotten core. It poured out. The overdose not accident, deliberate.
To dodge debts.
The hack. Bait for bigger scores. Insider trades he'd fenced through Vanessa's ex. But the gut punch. Ethan's paternity. I knew from the start. Prenup blood test, your fling with Tommy. But the results. Faked negative.
To keep you leashed. His eyes.
Watery. Thought it'd bind us. Then, when you confessed for me.
Guilt.
But power? Addictive. I flipped it, used the secret to justify everything. Affairs. The empire. You were the rock, I was the wrecking ball. Horror hollowed me.
Leashed.
All those years. Compliant because of a lie he'd manufactured. And Ethan? Doesn't know. But if he digs. The real father's a ghost. Your one night in junior year, that poly ticker from DC? What's his name? Greg Harlan. The name surfaced. Murky, internship hookup. Post-party blur.
Dead now.
Car wreck 10. Per quick Google in my mind.
Yeah.
Untraceable. Richard's hand trembled reaching for mine. I yanked away. I'm sorry.
Claire.
For the monster I became.
Sorry.
Too small for the chasm. You don't get absolution. You get the cell. As I rose, he grabbed my wrist, desperate. Not violent. One more. The divorce papers? Not just Vanessa. Insurance. If you pushed, I'd leak the real paternity to destroy you both. The monster unmasked, flipping one last time. Victim to villain. Back again. I wrenched free, striding away, the fountain spray misting tears I hadn't shed. Home. Ethan waited, laptop open to ancestry sites. Mom, I ran my own test. 23 and me style. Dread pooled. And Harlan DNA match. Distant cousin flagged it, his sister. His voice steady, but eyes searched mine. Dad knew. I nodded, collapsing beside him. Knew and twisted it. He closed the lid.
Slow.
Then he's dead to me. Your family. We ordered Chinese. Binging old sitcoms, laughter forced. But real. Claire Tech hummed. First contract. NYPD pilot for bias detection AI.
Justice.
Served cold. But Richard's flip rippled. Monday. Feds raided Sequoia offices. Headlines hailed him. Whistleblower hero. Public split. X-threads raging. Snitch or savior? Vanessa birthed in LA, a boy. Mark Jr. Per tabloids. No contact. Ethan enrolled Harvard, early decision. Fall semester looming. Poli-sci to law, he said, overpacking. Prosecute the Richards. Pride swelled.
Bittersweet.
My revenge?
Pyrrhic.
I'd shattered his plans, but fragments lacerated us all. Yet in the wreckage, rebirth. I dated, cautious. A gallery owner with kind eyes. Ethan thrived. Interning at ACLU. Richard, 5 years probation. Disbarred from tech. Fading to podcast punditry. One night. Wine loose. Ethan asked, worth it? The shatter? I pondered the skyline. Lights winking like conspirators. Maybe. No one's clean. But truth? It's the only empire worth building. Fall foliage turned Central Park to fire when Ethan's freshman year hit. I drove him up to Cambridge. U-Haul trailer rattling behind the SUV like a tinny fanfare. Harvard Yard gleamed autumn crisp. Leaves crunching underfoot as we hauled boxes to his dorm, single in Eliot House. Perk of legacy lies we'd buried. Mom, you don't have to hover, he teased. Stacking books, Rawls.
Foucault.
A dog-eared copy of my old favorite, The Handmaid's Tale. I'm not hovering, I protested, fluffing his comforter.
I'm
launching. He hugged me fierce at the door. Man now fully. Backpack slung. Call every Sunday. And don't tank the company without me. Claire Tech was thriving, second-round funding. $50 mil from ethical VCs, sniffing redemption arcs. My TEDx talk went viral, from betrayed to builder, reclaiming AI's soul. Likes poured in. Alongside hate, trolls dubbing me divorce dictator. Polarizing. Still, X debates raged, empowerment or emasculation. Back in the empty Tribeca loft. Echoes mocked. I sold it, too haunted, relocating to a Brooklyn brownstone in Cobble Hill. Closer to the water. Farther from ghosts. First night solo. I uncorked a Napa cab. Scrolling Richard's latest, a Substack on tech's moral reckoning, ghost-written drivel monetized via Patreon. Comments mixed, brave turncoat versus sniveling sellout, a ping Miriam. Your ex wants mediation. Asset split tweak, claims emotional damages. I texted back. Hell no. Let him crowdfund therapy. Dating resumed fitfully. Date 3 with Alex, the gallery guy. Salt-streaked hair. Laugh like gravel jazz ended in tentative hope. Over oysters at Grand Central. He asked. The headlines. Heavy. Heavy's relative, I said, slurping brine. Yours. Divorced. 2 years. She took the cats. We clinked glasses, toasting second acts. But Richard lurked. A shadow in legalese. Subpoena arrived November. Deposition in his civil suit against Sequoia, naming me key witness to his character. Miriam prepped me in her office. Midtown high-rise with views of the chaos I'd escaped. Stick to facts. No good ideas. Facts, cold. Clinical. I recounted the hack. My confession, first public airing. Voice steady, but soul screaming. Lawyers probed. MS.
Hale.
Did you coerce the cover-up? Coerce. I echoed. Incredulous. I protected. He exploited. Richard testified post-me. Video link from his rehab in the Hamptons, court-mandated, post-probation. He looked tanned, therapied, spinning redemption. Claire's strength inspired my flip. Without her, I'd be lost.
Lost.
The lie landed like a slap. I stormed out post-session, hailing a cab to the High Line, walking rails till lungs burned. Ethan called that night, saw the feed online. Dad's full of shit. You good?
Better. I lied.
Harvard treating you? Debate club champ.
And.
Girl. Poli-sci major. Hates Trump more than I do. Pride pierced the ache. Vet her politics. And her dad. Winter deepened. Claire Teka's holiday party at the Nui Gallery glittered, Klimt's glowing on walls. Champagne flutes bubbling. Alex attended, arm loose around my waist, whispering art trivia. Vanessa crashed it, bold or broken. Bump gone. Stroller in tow with a nanny. Mark Jr. gurgled, innocent eyes staring. Claire, she said, cornering me by the coat check. Truce. I sipped Riesling, appraising. For the kid? Maybe. She nodded.
Weary. Leisel.
Tech scenes a boys' club. Thought. Consult for Claire Tech? Ethics angle. The offer dangled. Controversial. Hire the homewrecker? Board would split. Media feast. Email Miriam. Vetted. She left. Stroller wheels squeaking retreat. Alex raised a brow later. Mercy or masochism? Pragmatism, I decided. Power, not punishment. Christmas, Ethan home. Tree trimmed with mismatched ornaments, his baby teeth in a bauble. Richard's old Rolex keychain weed melted down. We baked gingerbread. Burn the edges. Laughing at the char. Tradition upgrade, he declared. Mid-festive. A package, unmarked, FedEx from Nassau. Inside, USB drive. Note in Richard's scrawl, final truth. Burn after. I plugged it in. Alone, Ethan at a party. Files bloomed, journals, digital. Years of confessions. The overdose, suicide ideation. Not accident. Affairs, tally higher than suspected, including Ethan's debate coach senior year. And the paternity. He'd faked the prenup test. Yes, but later confirmed via hospital hack. Greg Harlan. Dead dad. Worse, a video. Timestamped 03. Hospital delivery room.
Me.
Drugged post-C-section. Signing consents. Richard in corner. Bribing a nurse for private records. Then, the flip. He'd paid off Harlan's estate post-rec. silencing whispers. To protect her, the entry read. Our family.
Protect?
Or possess. The drive word. Files deleting auto, his failsafe. I yanked it. Smashed under heel. Shards glittering like ice. New Year's Eve. Alex and I watched fireworks from his rooftop in Dumbo. Manhattan's pulse across the river. Resolution, he murmured.
Kishvorm.
Forgive. Not forget. Spring thawed scandals. Richard's book deal announced. Shattered code. A tech tycoon's fall. Ghosted by a valley exile. Promo tour pending. Ethan aced midterms. Dated the poli-sci girl, Lila.
Sharp as tacks.
Family from Queens. She's cool.
Mom. No skeletons.
Skeletons.
Mineratled loader.
Vanessa joined Clairetech, junior ethics role. Probationary. Her insights sharp. But trust? Earned in glances over coffee. Mark Jr. Asks for Auntie Claire, she said once. Photo on phone. Chubby cheeks. Richard's nose?
No marks.
The real storm hit May. Ethan's birthday.
23.
Dinner at Peter Luger. Steaks bloody as grudges. Richard showed, uninvited. Suit crisp.
Giftbedenkling.
Son. Happy birthday. Ethan stiffened. Fork paused. What the? 5 minutes, Richard pleaded. Please. We granted. Tension thick as the air. He slid the bag over. Leather journal. Embossed Hale legacy. Wrote it in rehab. For you. The real story. Ethan flipped pages, entries mirroring the USB. Unburned version. Harlan's name leaped. Greg's ghost. You knew. All along. Richard nodded.
Broken.
Feared losing you. To truth. You lost me to lies. Ethan's voice cracked. But held. Get out. He did. Tail between legs. Lila, wait. No. Ethan texted later. Handled.
But.
Part of me pities him.
Pity.
The ultimate controversy. No heroes. Just humans flailing. Summer. Ethan interned at Clairetech. Coding bias algos. Alex proposed over weekend in the Berkshires. Ring simple. Sapphire like my eyes. Build with me?
Yes.
Richard's book dropped. Bestseller brief, reviews split. Gripping confessional versus self-pitying scam. He called once. Proud of you.
Claire.
Really?
Click. Blocked.
But the twist lingered. Unspoken. Harlan's sister. The 23andMe match. Emailed. Knew Greg had a son? Coffee. I met her, nurse. Widowed. In a Jersey diner smelling of fries and faded dreams. He'd be proud, she said. Photo of Greg. Ethan's jaw. My smile. Fling or not. Family. Family. Fluid. Fractured. I forwarded to Ethan. Your call. He replied. Maybe. After bar exam. Revenge's arc bent toward grace. Or was it? Readers of Richard's book debated online. Villain redeemed? Or wife the true schemer?
No consensus.
Just the gray deliciousness of it. Wedding bells clanged metaphorical by June, Alex and I. City Hall simple. Ethan best man in linen suit. Lila maid of honor with Mark Jr. as ring bearer. Tottering adorably. Vows exchanged under a magnolia in Brooklyn Botanic. Petals shedding like old skins. To new codes, Alex toasted. Rings glinting. Honeymoon Iceland. Geysers erupting like pent-up truths. We hiked glaciers. Alex's hand steady in mine. No ex's haunting, he joked. Steam rising. Exorcised, I said.
Meaning it.
Claire Tech expanded. London office. Ethics certification global. Vanessa Rose ranks. Her startup pitch in my inbox. Mom Tech AI for working parents. Funded. With equity. Ethan graduated Harvard Law top 10%. Clerkship at SDNY beckoning. Speech at commencement. Justice isn't binary. Betrayal teaches. Gray areas demand grace. Crowd thundered. I wept. Alex's arm anchor. Richard attended. Perimeter seat. Uninvited but tolerated for Ethan.
Post-ceremony.
He approached. Gaunt in seersucker. Beautiful words.
He's
Ours. No. Ethan cut in. Lila on arm. Mine. Richard nodded. Retreating to shadows. Later. A card. To the family I fractured. Forgive. Ethan pocketed it. Undecided. Time's the judge. Fall brought Harlan's sister, Aunt Nora, into fold. Dinners in her Jersey split level. Pot roast and stories, Greg's anti-war protests. His laugh like thunder. Ethan absorbed. Journaling his own code of kin. Working title. Claire Tech's IPO loomed. Roadshow frenzy. I keynote in SF. Once Richard's kingdom. Crowd electric. Q&A. Revenge fuel or forgiveness? Both, I said. Shatter to rebuild. Post-talk. A face from fog. Tommy Riley. Silver now. Ex-wife in tow.
Claire Hale, CEO Siren.
Knew you'd conquer. We hugged awkward. History's echo faint.
Water under, I said.
Back east. Storm clouds. Richard's health scare. Pancreatic whisper.
Per tabloid.
Ethan visited. Solo. He's rough, he reported over beer at McSorley's. Regrets parade. Wants amends. Amends. I sip dark and stormy. Or absolution? Bit both.
But.
He's human.
Mom.
Flawed fuck up. The word, his, not mine, stung soft. I nodded. Your bridge. Thanksgiving. Expanded table. Alex's kids from prior. Teens. Eye roll pros. Lila's fam. Nora. Even Vanessa, with Mark Jr. On hip. Richard invited.
Tentative.
He came. Pie in hand. Store-bought. Awkward grace. Small talk on weather. AI regs. Ethan pulled him aside. Words low. Then hug, stiff. But real. No full forgiveness. Boundaries barbed. But the table held. Turkey carved. Laughs genuine amid the mess. Winter solstice. A package. Richard's.
To me.
Manuscript. Shattered sequel. Redemption's code. Dedication. To Claire. The architect of my ruin and rise. I read. Cover to cover. Unvarnished. Affairs as addictions. Flips as fears. The prenup fake as fragile ego. Twist. He'd recorded our fountain talk. Insurance reversed. Proof of my mercy. Leaked to soften his image. Controversy reignited. Ex-wars. Podcasts dissecting. Heroic hubby or manipulative mogul? Listeners split. As designed. Ethan eloped with Lila New Year's, Vegas. Quickie Chapel. Us notified post-vows.
Surprise, vidéo, ring.
Grins. Elvis officiant. We flew out. Celebrated in a steakhouse. Toasts to impulsive joy. Spring. IPO day. Nasdaq bell. Confetti chaos. Stock soared 40%. Me on screens worldwide. Empowered icon. But the call. Post-close. Richard.
Weak.
Cancer's real. Stage 4. Write the epilogue. I visited his hospice, Hudson Valley. Views of leaves turning traitor. He lay frail. Tubes snaking, but eyes sharp. Ethan? Coming. With the kids. Lila pregnant. Announced prior. Tell him. Proud. And you. Sorry isn't enough. But it's start. It's end, I said.
Soft.
Rest. He died June. Obituary split. Visionary felled versus. Fallen fraud finds peace. Funeral small. Ethan spoke. Complicated man. Complicated love. Summer wedding for Ethan Lila. Vineyard in Napa. Vines heavy. I walked a mile. Alex waiting.
Valsermine, grai grace.
Claire Tech Global now. Ethics Empire. Vanessa's mom tech acquired. Her equity millionaires. Nora family fixture. Harlan Stories lore. One dawn. Alex and I on the brownstone stoop. Coffee steaming. Happy, he asked. Shattered. Rebuilt. You? Same. The news that shattered? Not divorce. Not DNA. It was realizing revenge polarizes. But peace? That's the debatable win. No one's wholly right. Wholly wrong.
Just wholly human.
Years blurred to vignettes. Ethan's twins born, Greg Jr. And Clara. Red-cheeked howlers with Lila's curls. My laugh. Claire Tech unicorn status. UN contracts for Peacekeeper AI. Ironies full circle. Alex's gallery thrived. Joint show. Fractured frames. My shattered glass sculptures beside his abstracts. Vanessa mentored. Mark Jr. Her shadow. Ethan's nephew cousin. Family knots tangled joyous. Nora past gentle. 32. Bequest. Greg's old protest sign. Make love. Not war. Hung in the brownstone. Talisman. Richard's shadow faded. But echoes. Foundation in his name. Ethics grants I greenlit. Controversial. But catalytic. Book royalties to Ethan. Who donated half to hacker defense funds. Legacy remix, he quipped. My memoir dropped 35. Shattered plans. A woman's reckoning. Bestseller. Debates eternal. Did I destroy or deliver?
Panels packed.
Audiences split. Feminist fire versus vengeful viper. I smiled. Demurred. Both. Choose your side.
Ethan Rosida.
Prosecuting Valley frauds. Richard's old ghosts. Full circle, he said over whiskey. Twins asleep upstairs. But no hate. Just hustle. Alex and I traveled Tokyo bots. Sahara stars. 60th birthday. Surprise party. Brownstone bursting. Ethan's fam. Vanessa's. Old board allies. Speeches roasted. Claire. Shattered empires. Mended hearts. Toast raised. I scanned faces, mine. Forged in fire. The hook? That graduation rip. Papers in hand. The shatter? His world. Meaning. Rebuilt. Debatable dynasty. No tidy end. Life's twist. Endless. But in the gray. Grace. And that? Worth the war.